Hey everyone, welcome back to Life After Sunday, the Midweek Mic. Today we are going to be talking about Psalm 23. Matthew from church, he did a three-part series, and that's what we're going to go into. First, the Psalm 23 was written by David, King David at the time, and it really pulls from his experiences and his upbringing as he was a shepherd. So, take it away.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about specifically walking through the valley and what that looks like and how we get through that. Matt talked a lot about the importance of rest in the valley, worship in the valley, prayer in the valley. So we're going to go through some of those pieces because we all have those valley moments that sometimes they feel like they're never ending or you're stuck or it's really dark and things look grim. So it's important to know, how do we get out of there? How do we carry on when it feels impossible? So I was going to ask you, when you hear valley, what do you think of personally when you hear that?
Since we're in the context of Psalm 23, I just think of the mountains, and then you have that valley where like the bad and chaos can happen. In real life, what I'm imagining is how it's always been risky to go through valleys when you were doing trades and things.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of, I don't know, it's like a cartoon movie where it was like, oh, don't go through actually I know what it is. It's Finding Nemo.
Oh, the jellyfish place.
Yeah, it was
not to
like
go through there. Yeah.
Yeah, but actually in that one it was like go through the trenches. But that's what I'm imagining.
Yeah. I think like maybe you're surrounded by the enemy and they can see you, picturing in my head. But he shared the story from 1 Samuel when David was running and he's in distress and his family was taken and his own men were turning against him. And when he was fearing for his life, thinking he's going to die. So he was like in a valley in every sense of the word. He was thinking he's at the end. He didn't want to go on, and then he thinks he's going to die. So it was a really dark place for him. And we see that when we read Psalms, the kind of up and down of David's life, which is encouraging because we all have those moments. But just to show valleys are real, but they're temporary. It's not where you stay when you're walking through the valley. It's a dip and then you get to come back up, which is good. So I think just remembering when you're in that part, it's not going to last forever. Like there's light at the end. So Matt talked about how it says to lie down in the green pasture. So that's the place where you're going to spend more time, but you're walking through the valley. So it's not meant to last there. It's not meant to stay there. It's a passing moment. So that's...
Yeah, so we see that throughout many stories in the Bible where there have been chaoses and storms and you step out of the boat or you have to go through the desert. There are places that you don't feel strong or you are hitting rock bottom. That's what a valley is. It would be the bottom of the mountain. You are hitting rock bottom in your life at times and you feel like that there's no way out of everything. And that's when people turn to substances or they turn to acts of unaliving themselves. Those
things that feel like quick fixes to make you feel better because you don't see an end.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's telling you here, there's an end, there's a place to rest. Yeah. And I love David when he writes these psalms because he's so raw and natural in the way that he's speaking. You can see that he's giving all of the emotions that he's feeling to God.
Yeah.
If he's angry or if he's sad, scared, he gives all of that to God. And that's the relationship that we should strive for, is when we're in those valleys, when it feels like it's too much, you give it to God and you know that you have a good shepherd to lead you.
Yeah. Why do you think it's hard for us to remember that seasons are temporary? Like we've seen time and time again, difficulty comes and goes and it's better after. Can you think of a time looking back through your life and you're like, oh, God was there the whole time?
Yeah, there's many times. And it's sad because like I'm going through a situation now where my job has decided to make some changes and I kind of want to find something new. And I was getting into a moment where I was like, oh no, this is it. I'm probably not going to find anything. And I do remember a time in my past where I felt this same way coming fresh out of college, thinking I was going to have to clean toilets with my college degree for the rest of my life, and realizing that God did bring me through that, and he brought me to the job that I'm currently in. But I think it's so easy for us to forget because we can only see the small picture. We can only see what's in front of us or what we're going through. If you think about the time that the Israelites went through the desert, there were many times that God showed up for them and gave them something, but a little bit of dryness, they're saying, we're going to die here. You aren't giving us food. Oh, you gave us food, but it has no meat in it. Stuff like that. We're so easily able to be swayed to focus on the negative in life that we forget the blessings that God has given us. And that's only because that's in our nature and what the enemy works on.
Yeah. I think we're quick to think, oh, God doesn't love me because he's letting me go through this, because that's what the enemy would love us to believe. So that is a frequent thought when you're walking through that dark space. Sickness, you lost a loved one, job change, like all these big life moments. And it's easy to be like, he's not answering right away. I don't hear him right now. Is he gone? Does he care? Does he love me? And that's where the enemy wants you doubting, questioning things.
It comes back to doubting your identity.
Yeah.
And doubting the identity
doubting
of God.
Who God is. Yeah.
And that's what I like in the beginning of the psalm is David shows who God is. That's how he starts. He's the shepherd.
Yeah.
And who am I? I am the sheep. In that relationship, we see that he knows what a good shepherd is because he was one.
Yeah.
And he knows that the sheep are fickle. They're directionless. They just will wander off on their own. They'll fall into, I'm thinking of that little meme where it's like the sheep is in the cavern and then the guy gets it out and is bloop, 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 back into the cavern.
What I was picturing too.
That's what we are. We're these just people that think we have it or we know things, but we live in a cycle of destruction. And when we think that we are better than the shepherd, that's what path we lead down to. But when we submit to the shepherd who has a staff to guide us and a rod to fight the enemy, then we should rely on that, knowing that should bring us peace because he has good for us.
Yeah. I liked Matt talked about how it says God sets the table in the presence of our enemies. So God is the one doing the work, setting the table, preparing everything, taking care of everything. And we are just asked to come sit and dine. Like the position of rest gives us such an advantage when we're fighting these things. It's not like an inactive rest, it's a positional rest. So we're just like letting God do the work, letting God take control, and we're just there enjoying the meal that he's making.
And it's funny that he gives us a meal. He gives us a meal in the chaos because he knows we need that sustenance. It's like the story of Elijah where he goes through the desert and he's going through this dry land and the angel comes down and gives him sustenance.
Yeah.
That's what God does for us when we're going through this chaotic time. He gives us what is needed to go through it. It's not what we want. Like with the Israelites, they were tired of this magical bread that just showed up on the ground. They wanted something more meaty, and he gave it to them. But we want to store that, and we want to make sure that we
want to provide for ourselves.
And it just becomes mealy and wormy and disgusting. So God, we have to come to the realization that if I am a Christian and I say that I'm submitting to God, I'm submitting all to God, and knowing that he prepares the table for me that will give me what I need to get through the chaos of the enemy surrounding me. But not only that, we learned in the book that we read,
Don't give the enemy a seat at your table.
Exactly. Yeah. We learned in that book that it's also not beneficial just for us, but it is beneficial for those who are part of the chaos around us, that they can see that we have this peace when the storms are around.
Yeah.
That we have this table and this friend across from us who's bringing us through it. So we're stronger to the people who are part of this spiritual chaos around us.
Yeah.
Because we know it's the spirits behind us, because it's not flesh and bone that we are fighting, it's the spirits that are behind them. So they see this and they see the miracle of God providing for his people. And then they see that they also have the invitation to sit down with the Creator who will keep them and sustain them.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into, I guess you answered it a little bit. I was going to ask, what does rest look like in actual life for us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how can you make sure you're resting in God?
First of all, being an overweight dad of 4 who constantly has to pretend that I know how to play basketball outside, rest just sounds so amazing. Like, anytime that I hear the word rest, it just is, I have this picture of me in a hammock, which I have a hammock outside, and it's just like, I got
into the ground.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad, guys. I have this hammock and I put the poles down and I put them too close to each other, but I like dug them in already, so I'm having a hard time getting them out. And they're not that far apart. And the hammock looked like I could sit on it, and I go to sit on the hammock and I just hit the ground, and I'm just like basically laying on a towel on the ground, and it was horrible. But in my mind, resting is like, I'm in a hammock, there's a nice breeze, and I have no cares in the world, that I am restful and I have peace. And that is what God is calling us to do. He's calling us to lay in a hammock and to just feel that nice breeze across our face, take a little bit of a nap, knowing that he has good for us because we've given it to him. No, you have to be vigilant and stay alert, but you don't have to worry, because as he says, he provides all of our needs. The fields are full of flowers and they look beautiful. You don't have to worry about your own garments. The sparrows don't worry about what's coming, where they're going to get their food, because they're provided for. And he does so much more for his creation that he has created in his own image. Yeah. And that he cares for and is close to his heart.
Yeah. So I think it is just that place of really relying on God, like not relying on your own devices, not relying on other people. It's really trusting that he's got my back and it's going to be fine. Yeah. So even when it is crazy, even when the hammock falls to the ground, like you're going to...
Or the kids are stomping upstairs. I don't know if y'all can
you can't hear them, but yeah, just even when it's chaos around you, it's peace within, because you're like, I am held by the king, so it's fine.
I can just hear
it's a lot of stomping upstairs.
But speaking of chaos, it feels like every time we come to do this podcast, we have to drive in the same car, of course, and we have our whole family in the car. And on the way here, I was just like, Steph, just breathe, because you have so many kids who are wanting your attention and are, Mom, what about this? Dad, did you see who won this? Or, and you're just like, oh my goodness. And then you try to have conversations with the little bratty 11-year-old, and he's giving you feedback that you didn't ask for. And so you just are going to be angry in that moment. And I think that's at that time where I was like, okay, I need to really tap into this God piece that he says that I can have.
So we said a prayer when we got to our recording room.
Yeah, we did.
We're not feeling it right now, but just speak through us. Use us even though we are succumbing to the chaos around us.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it's a work, but it's a practice of not letting those things get to you.
Yeah, because we're so used to trying to do things on our own.
Yeah.
Making sure that I have control over everything. And you and I are controlling to a degree, and we love to plan and we love to have our schedules. So giving that over to God and saying, you take care of it, you take care of my finances, you take care of my job, you take care of my health and my family. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to go out and eat 2 large pizzas from Double Deckers Shout out. Hopefully I get a new free pizza. But
He does
just
want
kidding.
2 large pizzas.
It's not saying I'm going to go out and do all of these things and just know that God's going to have me and he's going to amazingly have miraculously give me the health that I need, even though I'm not putting that type of work in. And I think that would be even translated into the spiritual work.
Yeah.
I can't say that God's going to give me the fruits of the spirit of joy, peace, happiness, self-control, but and not go into the word to find out how I find that, or how the character of God is transplanted into my heart and transforming my life.
Yeah, and I think too, we are quick to respond in our flesh, but we have to pause and respond in spirit instead. So when our flesh is screaming in the SUV on the way over here with all the kids and stuff, we have to, the fruit is within us. So it's just, you have to take a breath and kind of put it on. It's there. You just have to decide to walk in that, in your spirit.
Yeah.
So we fail daily because we're not perfect, but the goal in life is to fail less and less at that.
Yeah, and speaking of David, the author of Psalm 23, we see throughout the Psalms that he fails at going to God first with thanksgiving. Like sometimes he goes in lament, and through that he finds rest and peace at the end of the psalm. So that's how we need to go out about our life. We can't be hidden in shame when we do react in a flesh way and hide from him and not bring it up to him. We need to bring up the ugly to God, because that's what he wants. He wants us to bring that to him so he can restore us and bring us back to beauty.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into what I wanted to say next. When you're in that valley is where you can see where the cracks are in your foundation, like your foundation of faith. So if you're walking through, it is a test, right? When you're going through a dark valley. So you can look at yourself and say, God, what are you trying to teach me here? Where am I not relying on you in this situation? When you lose a parent to cancer, it's like, where is my faith at? And I'm going to see right now while I walk through this. So these things are, I don't want to say tests, but it is, you can see your character and where your faith is. So God can expose those things to you where maybe you had too much control and you weren't surrendered here. So it's rely on me. Here's your opportunity. Yeah. You know, so it's a really good.
And that points back to the Psalm 23 with the staff.
Yeah.
As a shepherd, it's used to guide the sheep from trailing away from the path.
Yeah.
And that's what God does to us. That's what those convictions are that he brings up. It's to bring us back onto that path so that when we don't fall off into a cavern again. And then he uses that rod to beat back the enemy and to keep us protected. But if we don't listen to the guide and we fall off into the path, then we're susceptible to the enemy's attacks because we've stepped out of it.
Yeah. Can you think of a hard season in your life where something was exposed that you needed to give to God? So just something to, I think, for us to look back on and say, yeah, that, and isn't that fruit that comes from that then? If you saw where a crack was, then you're able to fix it, basically.
Yeah. And I think right now I'm in that season of life where, like I've mentioned several times, that I'm going through a very pivotal time in my life, and I am able to see the cracks, but I'm also able to see that they're getting filled. I'm not in a state of worry or panic because I'm imperfect and thinking that I can't be with God until I perfect them. That's a huge step for me because I've always felt like I need to be perfect. I need to know everything and I need to have it all together before I come to God. And through this time of mind renewal, I'm realizing just like how grateful I am to have him in a spiritual sense, but in a physical sense too in this world, because I can feel the effects of my spirit change. I can feel the anger not building up. I can feel the fear not taking over. And I know that I'm on a path that he wants me to be on, because I'm leading in with those convictions and making the corrections and giving it to him and stepping further and further into the waters that he's calling me out to. So I'm at a privileged state because I'm both being molded hard, but I can also see it, and I don't know what's going to happen at the end, but I know it's going to be good because of my faith and my foundation that's already there. And then just the little fillers that he's making right now is just, it's been mind-blowing for me to be able to make all the connections between my physical, mental, and spiritual health. Is just, it blows my mind.
And I think too, when you see how much he cares that he would even want to fix those cracks, like you could just keep going and maybe it would be fine, but there's so much better. So for him to not exposing things in a harsh way or to make you feel bad, but it's, look at this, let me heal this crack in you. There's so much more for you. I love you and I want better for you. So he's like tenderly filling this and making it stronger and fixing whatever that needs to be repaired. So it's just like the love of a father. Just, it's cool when you think about it.
Yeah.
That he cares about all those things.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen if you don't take God serious, if you don't actually, I would say, believe in him. If you
just stay on the surface and you're happy, just
if you're just
not
like,
going deep.
there's like this being out there who probably wants to have an effect on me or anything, but if you actually take him as your shepherd and your leader, and you take that serious and you start the relationship, then you will have a good shepherd who will take you through those valleys to the path of fields and hammocks.
Hammocks that hang at the right height so that you can relax in them.
So big people like me can relax in it and not hit the ground.
So Matt also talked about after rest, he went into prayer and how important it is to stay connected, and how that is really the big way that we build intimacy with God is staying connected through prayer, having those daily conversations and everything. He talked about Elijah when he heard the whisper of God, and how you imagine when you have to lean in to hear a whisper. So Elijah had to be close to him to be able to hear that. Yeah. So making sure that we are taking time to listen and that we are staying close so that we can hear the still small voice.
Yeah. We've already talked about prayer and how it affects science and stuff. Speaking of Matthew, I talked to his wife, Chrissy, and we were talking about that prayer and that meditation on God and who he is. And we're both like people who like to read about science and how it all connects and stuff. And she read a study where there were people who were asked to think of somebody in their life that they admire and a characteristic that they admire and that they would want to emulate. And the people did this for several days, and the researchers noticed that there were actual physical differences in these people and changes in their character as they thought about this.
So they started displaying the trait that they liked.
So we were
that they thought was good.
We were talking about this and how this just confirms what God tells us, that if you abide in him, you will receive God and you will receive the fruits of the Spirit and the gifts. And is it because in that prayer time and meditation, you think about God and how good and how great he is, and on the joy and the peace and the happiness, self-control, all of these things that he displays are being deposited in you because of that. It's literally changing your physical, and it was physical in like your brain, your neuroscience, but also in your character and the way you present yourself. Yeah. And I can attest to that it does, because when I said I was a Christian, but I didn't fully commit to praying to God every day or reading the scripture, even now, if I'm away from that, I realize that I start becoming more angry. I become more paranoid, and thinking that nobody likes me, that life is not worth living, all these negative thoughts. But when I'm back in the Bible and I have read about who God is, and my identity in that, I do display and I feel peace and joy. And so something that I wanted to start doing is every month taking a characteristic of God. So we're in the end of March, so I didn't start it. It's like a diet. Why would I start at the end? I'm going to start in April. And unlike a diet, I'm actually going to do it. In April, I'm going to just focus on love and how God displays that love. What's that love mean to the world and to the story of God and Jesus, and how that is pressed upon me, and how do I display that to others. So I'm hoping to just get a full, complete understanding of love, and then I'm going to move on to other things. In May, I was hoping to do self-control because God knows I need self-control. But I thought just having that mindset it just blew my mind to think that there are changes just as meditation on the characteristics, and it's been proven through science.
And God tells us that to meditate on his words. So if our journey is to become more like Christ, that just makes sense to spend time with him daily and meditate on him daily.
Yeah.
And then it just happens to you. So it's like a little gift, which is nice. But another thing he talked about in Acts 12, when Peter was in jail and there were 16 guards and he was chained, and it was the prayers of the church people that were praying fervently for him that God moved on his behalf. So when you think of how often we pray for others and pray for them seriously and are devoted to time doing that every day, and the difference that it can make, like God moves when you petition him for these things. So not take that responsibility lightly. When people say, pray for me, do you actually stop and say a prayer, or do you just comment on Facebook like, oh, praying, and then you just go about your day? So prayer is a serious thing. I think sometimes we just pass it off as a little comment, but when it's real and it's persistent, God moves. And we see that time and time again in scripture. Even if it feels like there's resistance, because there is, the enemy's fighting you constantly to stop these things from happening. He obviously doesn't want God's success. And so don't stop, even if you're not seeing an answer right away. Like, the importance of persistent prayer just can't be put into words. We have to keep going even if we're not seeing it right away. So keep pushing all the time.
Yeah. And Psalm 23 is central in every story that you hear in the Bible. It isn't just a poem, but it's a survival guide. It's David saying, life is dangerous, I'm like a sheep, and without God I'm done. But with him I have everything I need, even in the worst moments. So if we take Psalm 23 to heart, and we remember that even through these valleys, I have somebody who's pursuing me, and there will be mercy and grace all the day of my life, we can find rest and peace in that. And that's just what we wanted to bring to you today, is seek him and his ways, because his ways are better and greater than your own understanding. So lean on him, even if you are in a place where you don't know what's going to happen, you're uncertain, there's uncertainty in your life, and you aren't seeing a way out. Just know that God does have that for you. Don't give in to the temptations of trying to take things in control on your own terms, but to rely on the Good Shepherd who wants to lead you and who wants to guide you to pastures that have hammocks that won't let you fall out. So just remember that today. As always, we love talking to you guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye.